project where I'm talking about mental health, mindfulness, the meaning of life, and everything in between. So my last video, I talked all about mindfulness and the intersection of mental health and mindfulness, and I guided a meditation as a part of that. And I realized, the way that I prepare for all of these videos isn't by like writing something down and preparing a script. It's actually quite the opposite. It's by getting quiet, by doing a meditation myself, connecting with the present moment, because I believe that there is so much more capacity and potential there when we're actually connecting with truth and with the present moment than being lost in the stories in our head. And so I thought it made sense moving forward to have a little moment of presence and breath and like a mini meditation to kick off these videos, because I really do believe we retain information a lot differently when we're actually present. We're able to hear more and communicate more, and we just have a completely different experience when we're actually connecting with the present moment instead of, carrying with us whatever we were doing before, whatever we're trying to multitask right now. And so with that, just wherever you are, you don't have to sit down. You can stay standing. Again, if you are driving or walking or doing something where it is not safe to close your eyes, or in general, you don't feel safe to close your eyes, then you can just soften your gaze. If it does feel safe to close your eyes, then I invite you to do so. And just begin by noticing whatever sensations are present for you right now. That can be, if you're outside, the wind against your skin or the sun beating down on your head. Or maybe it's the sensation of your heart beating in your chest. Maybe it's the sensation of a little anxiety, of some stories going on in your head. Whatever that sensation may be, can you just be present with it and be a witness of your present experience right now? And as you settle into the present moment, let's take a couple intentional breaths together. We'll do a count of 4 on the inhale and extending the exhale for a count of 6. When we extend the exhale, we're activating the parasympathetic nervous system, getting us out of fight or flight into rest and digest. So whenever you're ready, inhale through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then exhale out of your mouth for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Returning to your natural breath. Inhales and exhales out of the nose. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Drop your tongue from the roof of your mouth. And just notice if you feel any difference right now than you did just a few moments ago. If your capacity to feel or to hear those sensations is a little different. And then whenever you're ready, blinking back open your eyes, coming back slowly if you had closed them, but slowly and gently to make sure to carry that energy with you into this present moment. I truly believe that when you change your state, you change your entire world, and that we're able to have such a different conversation. Well, my conversation with my iPhone, I guess. But then hopefully also on the other end that you're able to experience the conversation a little differently. So today I wanted to talk about my journey with spirituality, and that is because my spiritual journey has been something that has gone hand in hand with my journey with my mental health and with mindfulness, and particularly with me discovering the meaning of being alive to me. And so it's funny, that I consider myself a very spiritual person today, which is very different. It might shock people who grew up with me because I was a self-proclaimed atheist for as long as I can remember. Like, I have this memory being in probably second grade where I proclaimed to all of the other kids that God isn't real and I'm an atheist, and that's because my dad is a scientist and I believe in science. And I thought that that was the decision you had to make, was like science or religion. And science made sense to me, evolution made sense to me, but like a man in the sky, dictating the rules, that didn't make sense to me. And what was interesting though is I was always a very moral person. Like, I cared deeply about morals and about bettering the planet and being kind to people, love thy neighbors, like so many of these things that are a part of religion. But I didn't resonate with any of the control and any of the exclusion that had to do with religion. It felt paradoxical to me, particularly what's coming to mind is like, I couldn't understand why certain religions thought that it was a sin to be gay. That didn't make any sense to me. It didn't feel fair to me. So again, I'm going through life and I am this self-proclaimed atheist. And I feel like it was actually like a big part of my identity, to be honest. And I realize now that I think I had a pretty egoic view of reality. I felt like if I could not understand something, it wasn't real. So anything that I believed in was within the confines of my own mind. And when I go on to experience some mental health challenges, and I have this view of the world that's very based on like the systems and the matrix and capitalism and everything, when I felt like I was failing that system, there was no meaning to being alive to me. There was no deeper purpose for being here. And it really took meditation for me to be the first thing that kind of crumbled that limited worldview that I had, because I'm experiencing life where all I believe is what I can understand and what I can see, which up until 25 years of age was my thoughts, and then I meditate and all of a sudden I identify and associate with this new part of myself, that I didn't know existed. And so all of a sudden there's something that exists outside of the original confines of my mind and my thoughts. So my entire worldview crumbles because I'm like, who am I? What is life? What is true? There's this new thing that I've never experienced that I didn't believe in before because I couldn't see it, and now I do. I really started to question everything, and I thought at the time that I was on an existential journey. I wouldn't have considered it a spiritual journey. And I questioned myself, I questioned life, I really started to question everything, and I started to take a more curious look at the world and at all of these systems that I initially believed in and was kind of controlled by. I go on to read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and that book changed my life. Specifically in the conversation around spirituality, he references God as synonymous with the universe. And the term God had always made me really uncomfortable, because I'm this self-proclaimed atheist and it's like a big part of my identity. And so I noticed that the word itself makes me uncomfortable, but I had never heard this definition of the word of, God being the universe and God being all things. And it resonated with me, but funny enough, I again had an initially very egoic perspective of this lesson, which was, I've now figured it out that God is actually the universe and everyone else is wrong. Everyone else that I've ever interacted with that said the word God is picturing this man in the sky who's like dictating rules down to us. And eventually I went on to humble myself and to realize, that I actually have no idea what anyone else is thinking when they're saying the word God. I have no idea what anyone else's beliefs are if I don't ask them. And all I was doing was projecting my definition of that word onto these people. And so I began to develop the perspective that I have now, which is that God is the universe and is all things, and that we are God. And by this definition, to me, being gay is God, and like me having tattoos are God, because it is the natural unfolding of the universe, and that's God. And that kind of began my spiritual journey. And with that, I've also developed a worldview that's pretty completely opposite than what I used to have, where I used to be very egoic and believed, that I knew everything and that whatever I understood was truth. And now it's the complete opposite. It's that we know absolutely nothing. We are on this rock that is hurtling through space in this like vast unknown universe, and we are trying to understand life and we're trying to give it meaning. And I actually believe that there is no inherent meaning to being alive, but that we as human beings have this opportunity to create meaning. And what a beautiful gift and opportunity that is. And that truly the meaning of being alive to me is that we're here, that somehow, and this statistic has always stuck with me, but that there was a 1 in 400 trillion% chance of you being born, of me being born, of anyone being born. And so it is a miracle that God, the universe, the natural unfolding of everything led to us being here. And like that is meaning enough to me to keep going, and to make the world a better place and to enjoy the ride while we're here in this like ineffable experience that we're experiencing. And so now, I used to go into conversations trying to be understood, trying to project my views onto people. And now it's the opposite. Like I go into conversations wanting to understand, wanting to be curious, wanting my worldview to crumble, like wanting to learn something new and have some epiphany that makes me question everything and just be able to expand my mind and realize, that we're probably never going to figure it all out. And I don't really want to. I don't think that's the goal. I don't think the goal of being here is to figure it all out, to have all of the answers. I think, it's to feel all of it. It's to experience all of it. It's to be in love with all of it. It's to love through it and to leave it better than we found. And so I don't know if that connects with you. And I also, I think it's important to say that I believe that because so much of this is so confusing and it's so hard to grasp and it's so difficult to comprehend, that so much of it is like beyond words, and that I find words to be the problem. There's this quote that I love, that the map isn't the territory, and in that way, like the words aren't the thing. The words are the categorization so that we can understand it, so that we're not just like mind blown at everything that we're experiencing, And so we're using these words, these metaphors like God, like whatever else, to try to understand the ununderstandable, the ineffable, and to not get lost in the words, to not get lost in the metaphors, because like science is one language, religion is another language, spirituality is another language that's all trying to like understand and comprehend and explain the same truths. And if we can connect on the truths that are underneath the words and underneath the metaphors and underneath the language, then maybe I believe we all probably are on a more similar page than we think we are. And so just to really seek to understand each other, to seek to better understand this life and the meaning that we get to create out of it. And it's been incredibly transformative of my relationship with myself, of my relationship with the world. And so even when like the mental health challenges come, even when I'm in periods of stress and anxiety or the depression, when I'm having a harder time going through heartbreak or pain, whatever it may be, that because of my more spiritual and like awe-inspired view that I have of the world and how much of a miracle it is to be here and how much meaning there is in that in itself, like that gets me through, it really does. And so again, I wanted to share in case it helps any of you and it weaves in that meaning of life piece, that I think when we can drop beneath the stories, when we can drop beneath the suffering and the mental health challenges that so much exist in our mind, and we can be more mindful, we can connect with that deeper and truer part of ourselves. And from there, we can start to discover like what the meaning of being alive is to us, and to be alive, and to enjoy the process, and to remember that like we are on this rock that is hurtling through space, and the problems that feel so big are not so big, and on the one hand, like nothing matters. But then on the other hand, everything matters, and creating so much meaning out of being here. I think that duality is beautiful. So again, as I always say, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being present with me. Thank you for listening. And it really